Hi, welcome. We're going to do a quick introduction of us here at Group 4. My name is Sophia.
My name is Dailyn.
My name is Monae.
Okay, and thank you so much for being a part of our focus group today. Today, we would like to learn more about your experiences with the PCP program thus far. We will ask you a series of questions to guide this discussion. Please allow yourselves like a minute to think about it if you need to. And if we can start with some introductions on our participants, that would be great.
I'm Andy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Andy.
I'm Shantae. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shantae.
I'm Serena. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
Okay, awesome. So we can go ahead and begin now. Monae, would you like to start?
I think we're missing one person from their team.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We have everyone.
Oh,
Isa, did you introduce yourself maybe?
She said
Yeah,
Isa.
did you guys not hear me?
I heard. Don't worry,
Okay.
I got you.
I'm Isa.
hi. It was me. My bad. But go ahead.
Are you gonna start us off, Monae, or do I start?
Okay, I'll start. So the first question is, what do you think are the strengths and the weakness of this program? And could you provide like a method if you think there's a weakness to improve the weakness?
I wouldn't mind starting off. I think the program does an excellent job sort of providing for the students. So they offer a lot of resources. The teachers are very quick to respond if we need their help. The only weaknesses I could think of is sometimes the tools that they give us don't work as they intend, but they're usually pretty quick to solve them. I also feel like we might benefit from more like Zoom meetings or in-person interactions, but that will come with time.
I also agree. I think there's a lot of strengths. I think the program, they do a really good job. They have the right professors. But weakness wise, I definitely agree that we need maybe some more interaction with people. At least for myself, I have been online since before COVID, and I used to love going in person. But I also live far from MMC, so like there's that thing. But I think for that interaction with other people, I would drive. It's almost an hour for me. I would drive an hour to just like interact, considering that like I see our cohort, I interact with you guys online. And I think that we're missing that little part, of that in-person contact as well with our professors. I think that there are certain topics that we learn that maybe would be helpful to like have them teach us, even if it was on a Zoom, just to like hear their perspective rather than just like hearing them on a PowerPoint or reading a PowerPoint or reading the perusals. And I feel like the perusals for me are kind of a weakness, personally, because I just like read, and I think the best part about it is everyone's comments. I think that's the strength of the perusals, but sometimes I find that the material needs other material maybe that they could give us so we can understand, because sometimes I'm reading and I don't feel that I'm learning 100%. So
I think you worded that really nicely. I also agree that the reading so much can get tiring for me personally, which is why I enjoy the interactive videos. And I think we could benefit from like doing Zooms for classes, but at the same time, like I understand this program is online and a lot of us, have conflicting schedules. I know for me, like I have a full-time job, as do a lot of you guys. So I understand that the Zooms, I think we're doing those later, which I'm really excited for, but it might be difficult for us all to find a time to meet or a day even. But I completely agree for the most part with everything you said. And as far as the interaction, it's kind of crazy to me because I do feel like I've gotten to know you guys somewhat, like online. I've seen most of your faces before, not all of yours. But it's obviously not the same as if we were in person. But at the same time, since we're all in the same boat, we, text a lot, we update each other a lot. I feel comfortable asking any type of question, and it's nice to have that mutual same boat type of thing.
Mhm. That was awesome. Awesome.
I
What about
think
you,
for
Shantae?
me, it would be the strengths. I think it's the flexibility. I am a mother of two, full-time job, the starting of a new program with my job. So it's very hectic, and it's very convenient that I'm able to, study when I can, and even if it's 2, 3 in the morning, I'm able to, get it in where I can. I think one of the weaknesses is the technology aspect. Just the fact that sometimes the programs do not work. So that would be it for me. There are a couple of other weaknesses, as far as the actual material. A lot of it is very dry. And sometimes it's really hard to learn, if you don't have, for me, it's visual. I like to be interactive and things like that. So when you just have an article or something like that, for me, it's just, it's hard to learn. It's hard to focus for me. So, with the videos and things like that, it's very helpful for me when they work. So
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
that's it.
And you mentioned that one of the weaknesses was the technology aspect. Would you like to see more, I don't know, to kind of counteract that weakness, more physical or physical books maybe, or I don't know, like how would you counteract that?
Well, not just books, and definitely I'm a hands-on type of person. That's how I learn. I have to be in it. So, just the, and it's kind of hard when you're dealing with research to actually make it much more interesting. But I do think, maybe more recent, research would be better for me, more interesting. I know some of the articles that we've had have been kind of interesting, but it's just a little bit hard to focus. You know what I mean? When it comes to the actual subject matter that we're researching. I think more articles that or research that pertains to us, as students, for me would be a little more helpful, even though I don't know how much there is out there. But I would like to see more up-to-date research.
More up to date. Yeah, I agree.
Current
Yeah, that
research.
old stuff would be like, I'm
It's dry, and
Yeah.
how accurate is it as far as we've
Yeah.
come, like bring it back a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. That was interesting. Yeah, I think I agree with you guys as well. Now think back to when you were starting the program, when you chose to come here to FIU PCP program. Did you have any ideas of what it would look like or what it would turn out to be? And was that different? Was your expectation different from what it was, or is it the same?
I can go first. I think that I wasn't sure. I remember orientation really well because I was on my bachelorette in Punta Cana and I had to go into my hotel room and I was so nervous and I was so scared, and it ended up being so different than I thought. I think when you're into something, it's not as difficult, and I was so excited to like start, but I felt like I was walking in blindfolded almost. I was like, what is this going to be like? And then I saw everybody make their introductions and I was like, oh, wow, like these are just like people just like me, like I'm sure they're feeling the same way, and interesting people too, interesting backstories, interesting like daily lives. And I think what I expected was it to be a lot harder than it is. Maybe we're only in what I think our second semester. Like I still sometimes confuse maybe that we're in like our fourth one, but I think that it will probably get harder, but I'm enjoying it so much that I find it almost easy.
That's
So,
awesome though.
yeah, it's nice. And I enjoy the work. I actually really enjoy the work. Like when we were doing like role playing on in our sexuality class, and like we had to like make a whole thing for like the couple who was struggling. I think that was the first time that I was like, whoa, like this is what I'm gonna be doing. Like that's cool. Like that's a cool, like poor person, but like cool thing for me to be helping them.
Yeah, definitely. If you're enjoying what you're doing, it'll definitely appear easier. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does everyone agree, disagree?
I can relate to that a lot in the aspect of like coming into it. I can say that I was also just really nervous and really just not knowing what to expect at all. But the more like I went into it, the more relaxed I got. I was definitely, I don't know, second guessing myself a lot. Like, can I do this? Like, I thought it was gonna be so hard. Like, I don't know why, but I was really excited too. But as you said, it's nice to like really enjoy the work that we're assigned. There's been assignments that like specifically like the role playing ones that like I find myself like doing them early because I want to and I'm interested in it. Like never really in my life have I been one to do an assignment like way ahead of time, but like I have for these classes, which is like really nice to enjoy like the assignments sometimes.
Andy, Shantae?
I guess I'll go. For me, I really didn't know what to expect. I've always been a criminal justice major. Criminal justice is my heart, it's my passion. It's easy for me, it's what I know. So coming into psychology, I really wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. The cohort program specifically, nervous, still nervous. It's a lot of work, a lot of reading, a lot of research. But I think what helps a little bit is the professors, they are a little bit more understanding than, any professor I've had before. I feel like I'll be able to, communicate with them if anything comes up. But I'm like I said, I'm still nervous about it. I really enjoy this part because I get to see you guys, I get to interact with you all, even though it is an assignment.
Yeah.
It's good. You know what I mean? It's good to be able to talk to you guys and pretty much express how I feel about the program. So, but nervous is it, but I'm slowly easing into it, just anticipating the things to come, trying to take it one day at a time, so look forward to it.
Absolutely. What about you, Andy?
I did have some expectations going into this program because when I was searching for what graduate program I wanted to apply to, I had applied to a mentorship program of FIU, and my mentor was one of the students of the PCP program. And so when he was telling me all about it, I sort of had an idea what I was getting myself into. And then I went into orientation and I'm like, oh, I had no clue what I was getting myself into. And so these first 2 semesters have been a lot more sort of like academic and like knowledge based than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting more practical application because that's sort of what the step that my mentor was already at. So I've been enjoying sort of like the slow process of accumulating like the knowledge we need to even like begin to do what we want to do. But it was definitely different than what I expected. I thought we were going to do a lot more role plays and things like that, which is why I'm also a bit excited for what's to come. But I would certainly agree that the professors in this program have certainly made it very enjoyable. I've had very few professors of the same caliber as the ones that I've met so far.
So we all kind of agree that the professors are pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say
They've met your
majority so
expectations?
far. majority so far.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
I won't single anyone out, but you know.
They're lovely. The one
I
I'm
like
spoken
how
of.
we've had them for like the same time for like different courses also. It's kind of like we already know them, which is like nice. Just wanted to bring that point up, but I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely. Yeah, it makes you feel more familiar with them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely with like Dr. Rob, like I feel like I have a relationship with her. I don't feel like it's like I'm just writing papers and she's grading them. Like she gives me feedback. She
Yeah.
makes an effort, you know, to like say, hey, like, you know, I think you're doing great on this, but also I think you can maybe go this way. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Do you guys agree with that? The
Yeah,
feedback?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And then next question, if you could change anything about the PCP program so far, what would it be? You have to pick one thing though. You have to change something.
I would change how much we don't interact with the cohort and our professors. Like
You'd
my
to see
biggest
more.
complaint of everything. Yeah.
Is that what you guys would all change, or you guys change something different?
Yeah, I think it's not much I would change, but if I have to choose something, it would be more interaction. I know it's hard. I know, you know, our times are completely different. But just the fact that we're able to do this right now gives me hope. So I do think that we need to have more, you know, meetings like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also can't really think of anything else, so I guess I would pick that one. However, I do feel like based off of what I've heard, I do feel like it will change later on, and maybe later I will like this when we didn't have as much to do, like meeting up, like meetings all the time. You know what I mean?
Uh, there's a lot of little things that I might nitpick, but overall, I would agree. Spending more time learning directly from the professor would probably benefit me the most. Like the lectures and some of the play posits have been like a lot more enlightening than some of the reading, even though the reading itself has been pretty good in my opinion so far as well. But yeah, certainly more interaction with the professor
So all
and
around the
each other.
board, more interaction.
Yeah.
No, Andy, you said the professors. So all around the board, more interactions with either your cohort or the professors. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of oral written communication, scientific writing, and overall development, how do you think the program has been contributing to your development so far?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't had much time to practice sort of like our oral abilities or our communication skills, because that's the sort of thing that you build with practice with other people and through role plays. Even though we've read a lot about the proper ways of interacting with a patient, building a strong therapeutic relationship, what type of language to use, whether it be positive or supporting and things like that. So although we've learned a lot about it, I personally haven't had the chance to really apply it other than a couple of people in my personal life who have needed it. And so I would say probably my verbal and written skills are probably the best. My ability to write out my ideas and to be able to sort of make what I have learned more concise into something that I could actually apply, but not necessarily orally yet. I would like to say I'm confident, but I don't have the experience to prove it.
I would say I agree in that sense. Like, I think, as we've already said a few times about the interaction, I think the lack of interaction doesn't help the like communication, presenting. Like right now, you can see I'm like kind of stuttering with my words, or I can't really find what to say. I feel like if we had more interaction and more like presenting, or I don't know, like I know we're going to do it, but maybe like you know, role playing with our cohort or classmates. I think that would help a lot. And based on development, I would say I really like our development class because even though I took that in undergrad, I find myself looking more into like attachment styles, for example, and like looking at me and my husband and being like, oh, like we are this type of, attachment style. And probably like based on what I know about him and what I know about myself, like probably we're this way because, I know his parents, I know my parents, because our parents were this way with us. So I think that that's a cool part about like development, because it helps us understand, maybe what we could do better when we have children and things like that. I think that that's a cool part of this.
So even if you're not using it professionally, you both are still so far using it a little bit in your personal lives.
Exactly, because he's actually very interested. He's finance major, so like totally different, and appreciates the information, and like in our conversations, I can actually throw out knowledge that I've, gathered. And I think that that's awesome because we can really apply it to our lives, even if maybe our attachment style is like something strange or whatever, we could be like, oh, like here are ways, things we can do to like make ourselves feel better or whatever, whatever it is.
A counselor in practice. What about
Exactly.
you guys, Isabel and Shantae?
So for me, personally, I've been able to apply a lot of the stuff that I've learned on my job. I'm currently working at a residential mental health facility. It's for like girls that struggle with eating disorders. And I started working there more or less around the same time that I started in this program. And I've been able to just make a lot of connections within what we've learned in certain classes and the things that I see there. And there's also therapists there. Like I do sit in for a lot of groups and like even lead some when I get the chance to. And I've seen my growth and the connections that I've made. I'm also just with the clients all day, helping them through like crisis mode, things like that. So it's been really cool for me to grow that way. And I would definitely say I've seen so many connections and it's awesome. Like I love it to have, the learning aspect while at the same time working there. It's a great combination for me, which I really enjoy.
That's awesome. What about you?
So me overall, I think applying more of the communication, because and I'm going to be honest with you all, I'm perfectly fine on the side, quiet to myself, not bothering anybody. So I know now that I have to come out of that. So I think that practicing that more for me would be the best thing. Because, I've been an officer for about 17 years now. And, communication it's not one of the biggest things like in my job, and in the community that I work with, being articulate is not something that a lot of people understand. So I know that, I just have to come out of that. So for me, practicing that communication is vital. I need to start doing that. So once we start implementing that, I know I have to do what I need to do to, come out of, who I used to be, I guess.
Evolve.
Yes, that's it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. I guess the next question is, what ultimately pushed you all to choose this program specifically? Because I know there's other psychology graduate programs, but what drove you guys to this one here at FIU?
I'll take that one too. Let's start now. We're not. For me, being a police sergeant or officer, whatever you call it, officer first. I don't care if you're a major chief, you're an officer first. But for me, mental health is so important. And being an officer, we're almost like the superheroes. So it's almost like, you can't tell me nothing. I'm going through something. I'll handle it myself. I got it. when in actuality, life happens and sometimes you don't got it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need somebody to help you, just go through. So for me, that's what drove me to do this, because I know that, sometimes, a clinician who's never been on this side of the badge doesn't really know how to speak to someone who is. So, any little thing I can do to help, that's what I'm here for. Sometimes people just need somebody to listen to. Sometimes they need somebody to slap them in the face. Hey, you need to cut it out, so that's me.
That's awesome.
I love that. I'll say that was great. It was like super satisfying, your response. I would say I chose this program. I was going to do a PsyD, I was going to do a PhD, and I hate research. So there is the honest reason why I chose this specific program. But going, I guess, back in like history of why I want to do this, I had a lot of friends, as a little kid, middle schooler, who would self-harm, who would like 8th grade, 7th grade, like self-harm, suicidal. And for some reason, I always had those friends that were that way. And that was very hard for me growing up. And I think once it got to me, I started to see a therapist and I saw how much she helped me. And I was like, wow, like this person is just letting me talk, basically. She's just listening to me, offering me some solutions. I was like, I can do this too for somebody else. I think that people look down on mental health a lot. And I think that having programs like this one, where it's flexible, like you guys were saying in the last meeting, that's flexible and it makes it easy to do other things while also getting this degree that will essentially help so many people down the road. Like if we could really do the math of how many people each one of us are going to help, or maybe have already helped, because to do this, you have to like really love it. You have to feel it in your heart. Like you can't just listen to people because it's your job. Like, no, like you have to have patience. You have to like people. And yeah, so that's why I chose this program.
That's awesome. I love that. Do you guys agree, Andy, as Isa?
Yeah,
Do
so
I
I
agree with?
completely,
Uh-huh.
sorry, I
Go.
knew that was gonna happen. You can go first.
No, you go.
Okay, so I love the way both of you worded that. Both very touching, and I completely agree. It's just for me, it's really the only thing I've ever really been interested in. Like for as long as I can remember, I just always psychology is what has like driven me, what I find interesting. I personally have struggled with depression and anxiety, which has just been really hard, and I have been able to overcome it / manage it. I also just have family members and friends that have just really struggled, and I think me also struggling with those types of things has made me very empathetic toward other people's problems. I've always been kind of like a worry about what everybody else, I like worry about what everybody else is feeling. Like I want everyone to feel okay. Very empathetic, I guess is the word. I'm always putting myself in other people's shoes. I have been that way for as long as I can remember. Which is why I've just always wanted to be a therapist. I think it's a great way to combine my interests while also doing something that I love. And that's pretty much it. I chose this program specifically because I'm familiar with FIU. I live close by and I did a lot of research on it and I liked what it had to offer.
That's a very endearing response. I would say I agree with the idea that we've all had so far. That's like, we all sort of love to help people, or at least I agree with that idea. I've always been very introverted. I'm not a very social person, but I've never run out of energy when someone was telling me like how their day went and things like that. So over the years, I've sort of gotten accustomed to observing people and sort of seeing like how bright people can be. And then when I see that they're on their down days and, you know, that little glint in their eyes gone and they just don't really seem happy anymore, it's like, we have to fix this. Like, especially in recent years, suicidality has gone up a lot. And a lot of people that I really care about and people that I've just seen online that I admire have like been suffering. And I kind of notice like I'm on a clock here. Like I can't take forever. If I want to actually like make a difference and help people, I have to start now. And so I was originally going to go into a PhD program, but I figured it would probably be quicker if I just go straight into practice. And so this was a few programs that I was aware of that allowed me to become a mental health counselor like relatively quickly, and where I would gain a decent amount of experience. And so I'm like, you know, this seems like a good path for me.
So our next question is, of all the courses that we've taken so far, which would you say is your least favorite? And despite it being your least favorite, do you believe this course aided in your or is aiding in your professional development?
I think I actually really liked all of your questions. Yeah, I would say I really liked all of your questions, and I definitely
Not, I'm sorry, not our questions, your course, your least favorite course.
Oh, our least favorite course. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. My least favorite course was the one that was really short last semester. Don't even like that. I don't even remember what it was called, and I think that says a lot. Did not like the coursework. I did not even though I did well in the course, but I felt that it was like, oh, you completed the assignment. Good job. Here's your grade. Like that's how I felt that class was. I probably don't really remember what I learned in that course, because I just didn't feel the encouragement from, certain areas. And I don't feel that course specifically aided in my professional development. I think every other course, sexuality development, right now the ethics class, I think everything was really nice and it helps, but yeah.
Are you talking about the ethics course?
I may be talking about the ethics course because that was the shorter one, right?
I think so.
There was, I guess I contradicted myself then, right? I would say certain information from the ethics course was helpful, but I think I just didn't love a lot of things about the course, and that I feel like that course should have been longer, number one, because that is the most important stuff that we need to know, and I don't feel like I took enough out of it. And yeah.
Completely with you, and that should have been longer. And I think that the course, the information has a lot of potential. It had the potential to be greater than it was. One of the assignments that I did enjoy was the ethical dilemma one, where we wrote the papers on it and we read other people's. But to me, the whole grading and the whole process was very confusing for me. I was extremely confused about what exactly I had to do. I know that I was texting the group chat like crazy because I just wasn't, I think there was a lack of communication and the instructions just weren't that clear. I did enjoy a lot of the videos that were provided, but I do also think at the same time it was a lot of busy work. But that being said, that was not my least favorite course. My least favorite course is actually this one, just because I don't like research. Everything has been great. I love Professor Rob. I think she's great. It's just the topic for me. I don't like research.
I get that.
For that sole reason, This is my least favorite one. I feel like bad saying that, but yeah.
So,
Uh,
no, go ahead, Andy.
I was just gonna say, program evaluation. This isn't my least favorite course so far, but I definitely feel like it's the least pertinent. Like I don't plan on being a program evaluator. Maybe at some point I'll be forced to have that as one of my responsibilities. But it feels like I'm sort of spending a bit of my time learning something that I might not need to apply ever. It is certainly useful, and especially like the information on qualitative research. Like it's interesting because it sort of taught me like how to apply some of the articles that I have read, because you would be shocked to realize how many articles you've read aren't quantitative, and you might apply the findings differently than you might have wanted to. But in terms of like the class that I feel had the most potential but didn't reach it, in my opinion, was the cultural competence class. I feel like the class was great. The information in the textbook really was insightful, and I learned like a new way of viewing how people see themselves, and how where you come from and that identity that you formed around yourself impacts the way you think and speak to people. But I feel like the assignments for that course weren't very insightful in learning about how people function. Most of like the assignments were centered around statistics and learning, oh, this group of people typically do this and that. And it's like, it's important to understand those things, but I feel like that course had a lot more potential. So that was probably my least favorite, because there's a lot of things that like I sort of realized through the text that I feel like most people didn't think of because it wasn't relevant to the assignments, right? Like I spent a lot of time sort of trying to identify, how does someone's upbringing in a city where they lack internet, for example, impact why they are so self-defensive against people knowing about their private life? Because I'm at the point where most people know a lot of things about me because the internet and social media. And so I don't really mind. But I've spoken to some people where like I'll ask them something personal and they're like, I'd prefer you didn't. And I'm like, that's interesting, right? And these are the sort of insights that you could have gained through the cultural competence class that I feel like we didn't really touch up on as much as we could have. So in terms of potential, that's the one I dislike the most. And this one's not too useful yet. So that's my little summary.
Go ahead, Shanti. And we are kind of on like a time crunch. Well,
Okay.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry for taking up your time.
I can keep mine short.
Me too.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I think if you would have asked me about 2 hours ago, I would have said this class right here. But because of this session that we're having now, I think this is very, very interesting. And I think it's good for us to do, and we should do more of this so we can learn how to talk to each other, so we can learn about each other. You know what I mean? So that's it.
Thank
That was
you.
great. Was
Thank
great.
you all for being a part of our focus group. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate your feedback.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
of
your
course.
time and for the great questions.
Go team.
I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it didn't feel too like forced. It was a nice convo. So
Yeah,
thanks.
it was great.
Good.
Bye.
All right, y'all have
Bye.
a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good evening.